Okay, so we've had a heat wave over the weekend. The lawn in the main is looking decent, but we've got a bit of heat stress over near the tree. So today I'm going to show you the telltale signs and what to look out for and how to treat it. So in the main, like I said, the lawn's looking good, and I'm surprised actually because over there would normally have dried out by now. Because we did the work a few weeks ago with the wetting agent, it's been able to hold a bit more water and sort us out with a bit of help over the weekend while I've not been able to get here. So we've come today and you can see that it's just beginning to go off colour a little bit. It's going a bit brown, shall we say. It's just looking a bit silvery. See how the lawn everywhere else is looking nice and green, and then you get here where the mower's gone over it, it's looking a bit flat. We touch it, it's warm, whereas the rest of the lawn, where it's not scorched or about to scorch, it's regulating its temperature very well because it's got the water reserves there. But here, so first telltale sign is the heat, so the grass is hot. Second sign is the Brillo pad effect. Now, if you live in the UK, you'll know what a Brillo pad is. If you live in the States, you might call it something else, but it's one of the wire wool little squares with soap in, and it looks like one of them, I think. So that's why I call it the Brillo pad effect. So we're looking for that, and what we need to do is just water it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick the sprinkler on this area for a good hour, and whilst if you catch it at this point, it'll come back in a few minutes. But if you leave it any longer and it starts to go brown, that's when you're in trouble. So when you're looking out for is that area there where it's gone a bit silvery. If we stick some water on that now, it'll be fine. Don't feed it. We're not looking to feed it. If you want to, and you've got it, my Pro, get some of that on, just in the areas where it's droughty, and then we'll water that in. But if you haven't, water is just fine. Don't add any nitrogen or anything like that, you're just going to stress it out even more. So all we're looking to do is add water, nature's best friend in these times when we've got a drought on. So, just going to go set the hose pipe up and we'll get it on, and then we'll come back in an hour and I'll show you how much it's come back in a short space of time. Okay, so I've just set the sprinkler up, going to give it a good water now. So I've just put the little metal clip down on the sprinkler so it stops and starts at the angles that I want it to, so you notice in a second it'll come back. It's just a little prong that you flip down and you just adjust two orange things on the sprinkler and it just glides in between the two. We need a good pressure for it to flip back on itself. So what we'll do is we'll leave that for an hour now, and we'll come back and I'll show you how quickly this is recovered just because we've caught it just in time. So another sign of drought is a blackening as well. So I always think if suddenly your lawn starts going black in places, the other thing it can be is drought, because it can't be anything else. And on a hot day like today, 25, 26 degrees, the lawn can soon dry out, especially if it's been 2 or 3 days of consecutive heat wave days. So what I'm going to show you now is, you can see also the grass doesn't spring back. So if we just have a look at a healthy area of turf, you can see that it springs back, and when I water, it just stands upright. You wouldn't know that it had been actually watered. Whereas if I do the drought area, so I'll do it quite high and like open the nozzle quite ferociously. You can see that the grass just lies flat, and if you're watering and you see this, then you know that you've got the drought. I know because the mower will go over it, for example, and it'll flatten it all down, then I know instantly I've got the Brillo pad effect, I need to get some water on. But if you haven't mowed it and suddenly you're watering and it just lies flat, you need to really concentrate on these areas. By hand is not really enough, because on a hot day the water soon evaporates, like on tarmac. You know, how quick does the road dry after it's rained on a hot day? Like within minutes. So the same on the grass, so you need to really get it in there. So if you find also that your water's dribbling off, you might need to apply some H2Go, which is a wetting agent, and that'll help the water get through. So what I'll do is give this a good soak with the sprinkler in a second, after I've just to give it an initial watering, just to give it something to go at whilst the sprinkler's on. You'll also find along the edges of the curbs and any stone, maybe that like there with the Indian stone where I've put in, it'll dry out quicker just because the concrete or the stone gets hot and then dries out the soil quicker. And also there's usually like a haunch of concrete there, so there's not as much soil as there normally is everywhere else. So you can see that's lying flat, get plenty of water on, and that, caught that early, it'll be back within an hour. So back after an hour, and voila, it's all come back nice and bonny. That silver effect has gone. The lawn's really cool, put my hand on it, yep, it's nice and cool. That's because there's water in the plant now, so it can regulate its own temperature. It's all stood up right. If I stand on it or lean on it, see, it just springs back up. Beautiful. So we caught it in time, we managed to salvage the situation. If we hadn't got here in time today, we still would have been able to salvage it, but it maybe would have took 7 days to recover properly, if not longer sometimes, depending on how far you leave it. But if you can get it at that silver Brillo pad stage, you can definitely salvage it within minutes. So another video done and dusted. Really enjoyed this one because we've saved the day. Again, I'm getting used to this. So what are we looking out for? First of all, the blackening of the turf, then the silver effect, and then if we stand on it, it doesn't spring back up, and if we water it, it doesn't come back up either, it just lies flat. If we can get some water on at this point, you've every chance of saving the day. So I know it's a short one today, but I think it's a really important one, and hopefully you've picked up some tips. So until we see you again, take care, and we'll see you soon.